Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look back at the Belmont Stakes, the test of the champion, the third jewel in racing's Triple Crown, and Todd Pletcher did it again. He runs 1-2 in the Belmont with Mo Donegal and Nest, numbers 6 and 3, respectively. They break from the gate in the Belmont Stakes. You're going to notice Nest, the number 3, right next door to Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike. She took a little stumble coming out of there.
Yeah, she really did stumble. Good job by Jose Ortiz. After that, though, Dan, he got her up, back on her feet. She gets a really good trip after the stumble. Saves some ground, moves up, keeps herself right within range the entire way. Really good trip, and she ran really well.
No surprise that We the People, the winner of the local prep, the Peter Pan, made the pace. The number 1 is up front right now. You see Nest tucking into the pocket with Skippy Longstocking in the 2-path and Mo Donegal in between horses in the 3rd flight. Were you surprised how quick they were going for this distance?
Yeah, I mean, to me, they really didn't go that quick. I didn't think anyway. I mean, yeah, the fractions look solid anyway, just on the screen. This pace isn't that fast, though. This is a very tight pack. All 8 horses are, sitting right up there. Nobody's outrunning this race. We the People, you thought he would make the lead here. He did make the lead here, and he controlled it all the way up the backstretch before they came for him and made him race a little bit.
At the back of the pack in his customary position is Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike. He certainly did not get the pace nor the ground-saving trip that he did in the Derby. After the race, Eric Reed kind of said he didn't like maybe being outside. He's more comfortable down toward the rail. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, that excuse probably doesn't hold much water. Listen, you knew he was going to be at the back of the pack early. He wasn't, obviously as far away as he was in the Derby because the pace wasn't as fast. He's going to make, sort of a mild run here around the final turn, Dan, but he never really reaches contention, and then he just doesn't finish at all.
Now the real racing begins with a half-mile to go in the Belmont. Skippy Longstocking going to try to ratchet up some pressure on We the People right now. Nest still settled into a good trip, but you can see, Mike, Mo Donegal on the outside is traveling sweetly.
Yeah, he had a really nice trip in this race, just sort of mid-pack, keeping himself within range the entire way. And he was just mostly doing it on his own, Dan, and he's still kind of doing it on his own here. He's just sort of pulling Irad into contention 3 wide. He's going to take this thing over very easily here at the top of the stretch, and he wins this race very easily, too. He's the kind of horse who always looked like he would stay, and stay he does. He finishes very strongly in this race.
You could have argued coming into this race on paper, the 2 Pletcher horses were the 2 that were best equipped to handle the demanding mile-and-a-half distance. And you see Mo Donegal, he's still really finishing and firing on home last quarter in 25 and change. That's pretty good after being relatively close to the pace all the way around. Mo Donegal was bet to favoritism, 5-2. At post time. He wins it for Irad Ortiz and Todd Pletcher. Nest second, Skippy Longstocking third. Kind of disappointing for the rest, Mike. Let's talk a little bit about We the People. He made the front. It was kind of a question of A, maybe he wasn't good enough, and B, he certainly didn't stay the trip.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, he certainly had, something to prove in this race, even coming off of, a big figure win in his prep race for the Belmont. You still weren't sure how far he wanted to go. Obviously, the wet track and that Peter Pan also clouded things a little bit. I just didn't see his excuse here, Dan. He got the trip that he was supposed to get. Skippy Longstocking was the horse who was, sort of sitting up on the pace with him, and Skippy Longstocking outfinished him for 3rd.
Crave Minister finished 5th. Despite being very lightly raced, he kept a hard schedule this spring. He won an allowance race on Kentucky Derby Day. He was a solid 3rd in the Preakness. Here he was only 1-paced.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It looked like he was trying to go for the spot that Nest got in that first run through the stretch. Like he wanted to get sort of up close and in behind the lead. Nest beat him to that spot. So he was sort of behind her most of the way. But all in all, I thought his trip was fine. And he just never, as you said, he was 1-paced. He never really picked it up, and he didn't finish hard at all through the stretch.
Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike pulled off the big upset in the Derby, settled in the back here under Sonny Leone, came wide into the stretch. He tried hard. He just couldn't make up the ground. Mo Donegal got a much better tactical trip this time around.
Yeah, true enough. The trips were a lot different. And at the end of the day, Rich Strike, it felt kind of like in the Derby, he took advantage of some things. He didn't have those circumstances in his favor this time. And ultimately, Dan, he was just never really a factor in this race. It'll be very interesting to see what they do with him next.
Barbaro took a little bit of money in this spot, blinkers off. Didn't break very well. Any hopes of him getting a little bit more forwardly placed were dashed there. And then after that, he's a nice little horse. He's probably not grade one type right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. It almost felt like in the early part of the race, they were going to try to go forward with him. He kind of got caught on the outside. I don't know if maybe Rosario decided to give away some of that early position just because he didn't want to be 4 wide on the first turn. So they took him back again. You know, he was sort of always in a 3 or 4 wide trip, but he was also never a factor in this race.
Let's take a closer look at Mo Donegal, the son of Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner Uncle Mo, bred by Ashview Farm Colts Neck Stables in Kentucky. Donegal Racing, Rapoli Stable own, Pletcher Ortiz. Horse is now earned $1.5 million. Career best 98 Beyer speed figure with the victory in the Belmont. And this 3-year-old division is wide open, Mike, for the taking.
Yeah, it is. He's certainly one of the ones going forward. Distance is no problem for this horse. So when you start talking about, you know, 1.25 mile races, even like the Travers and the races against older horses beyond that, you know, Mo Donegal, that's one thing you do not have to worry about with him. He's a really good horse. And you're right. He's not, you know, he was way back in the Derby, Dan, but he is not a plotter. He is not a horse who has to get outrun early in his races.
And it does seem like you can just click off those 24s or 25s at these distances, 1.125 miles, 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. You'd have to figure that Pletcher's going to have his eye on the Midsummer Derby, the Travers. And again, this horse is lightly raced enough where it's quite possible we've yet to see that explosive speed figure performance out of him just yet. It might be coming.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can break through finally. He just, you know, he does show up and run every single time. That's one thing he has going for him. He's just really good. He had a couple of quality wins on his card before the Belmont Stakes. Now he's got, you know, one of the bigger prizes in the 3-year-old division. And, you know, there's just no telling, Dan, how much more is in the tank. This is a really good horse.
Mo Donegal by 3 lengths in the 2022 Belmont Stakes, completing the Todd Pletcher exacta, the Philly Nest, 720 for Mo Donegal, 6-3-2 triple Skippy Longstocking, a game third after pushing the early pace. Mo Donegal likely going on to the Travers. It was all Todd Pletcher's world in the 2022 Belmont.